Good afternoon. I'm Tony Dunn, and I'm with Hamilton, and this is April Hines, and she's with InDigital. And we're here to briefly talk to you a little bit about one of the newest things that we are integrating into the 911 system, and that is real-time text.
Okay, what is real-time text? Real-time text is automatically transmitted to the PSAP at the same time the texter is texting. I mean, that's what that all says in a very brief manner of saying it. But the one thing that I need to point out is that it also has a voice component to it. So it's not just text, it's also voice with the text. All right. When did real-time text come about, and why are we talking about it? Well, back in 2016, the FCC adopted a report and order that allowed the carriers to provide real-time text in lieu of TTY. And the report and orders are up there if you want them, but it's going to be done in a graduated manner. In that graduated manner, the very first hurdle has actually already come to fruition. So in December of 2017, the carriers are now, the big four carriers, I need to make sure you understand that, the major carriers can now provide RTT in either a downloadable app or at least one of their devices that has real-time text embedded as an embedded solution. In December of 2018, the phone manufacturers must include an embedded solution in all new devices. And then when you move on to December of 2019, the big four carriers must provide, all of their devices must have it inherent on their operating systems. In June of 2020, the smaller carriers then have to be able to provide the app and or the minimum of one phone. And then in June of 2021, the small carriers will have to have the same accountability as the major carriers, providing it in all of their phones. Now that's you.
So you might be wondering, why are we doing RTT when we've got TTY and we've got SMS, and why now are we going to add another layer or another component to getting text messaging into a 911 center? So first of all, it's important to understand that TTYs are very, very old technology. Back in World War II, the Baudot component was designed, and TTYs were built in the early 60s, and there's a lot of issues related to that old technology, especially when we're trying to integrate that into now what we're moving to as the next gen platform. And so SMS then was designed to, because more and more people are dropping the usage of the TTYs to having their smartphones, and they just want to text back and forth with the smartphones. And so SMS became something that we needed to pay attention to, because that's what our citizens are using. But that's always been viewed as an interim solution for folks to be able to text back and forth. RTT was designed to replace TTYs. It's a platform that can be used over the next gen network, and TTYs not so much, right? So there's some differences between RTT and TTY that I just wanted to point out. First of all, TTYs are very not only old, but they're very slow. With they're Baudot with a baud rate of 45.5, that makes it just very slow typing. And being able to get that message into 911 when it's slow it could be critical. It could be life or death. So RTT is referred to as basically fast. It's a fast mode, and it is real time. So when somebody is hitting a key in real time text, it's being received at the same time, at the end user's time. So it's full duplex, meaning, well, let me go back to TTY. TTY is half duplex, meaning only one person can type at a time, and you have to wait for the other person to stop typing before you can send a message. And so in RTT mode, it is simultaneous, so you don't have to wait. You don't have to give the GA for the go-ahead, and a lot of the abbreviations that that you have to use in a TTY mode. Usability, meaning that you can interrupt. You know, you can, in a TTY mode, you can't. So it's user-friendly. And it does have the voice component, and eventually when carriers are able to then move videos and networks across the network, the RTT can support that as well. And let's see, compatibility, April mentioned the plan, you know, of when every device is going to have the capability, and so it will be compatible across devices. So why is it important to me or you? Is because now that's going to make it available to, RTT will be available to every single person, and regardless of disability. It's not just for people with disabilities, it'll be for everybody, just like SMS turned out to be. The disabilities community advocated for SMS because they were not using their TTYs, and now they are very, very excited that RTT is going to become available to them instead of even SMS. So they're looking at that as a very positive thing for communications.
Okay. Yep.
Will RTT, is that like a thing I have to do as a consumer, or is it just going to be my tax is going to be on RTT?
Okay, do you want to talk? Yep. Actually, I was going to just kind of address that, but thank you, Patrick. Actually, where RTT is concerned, it is something you are actually going to have to go into an application or into it's going to be an app on the phone no matter what it is, whether it's inherent on the device or if it's actually an over-the-top app. One thing that I think is really important to point out regarding RTT as PSAPs, how many of you in here are PSAPs right now? Okay. RTT, you're going to receive RTT right now. So if somebody sends an RTT message, you're already going to be receiving it. One of the biggest issues, and we're going to talk about that in just a second, is the fact that it's backwards compatible, excuse me, backwards compatible to TTY right now. So if you receive RTT, you're really not going to know it's an RTT. It's going to come in as a TTY into your PSAP. But as we talk about this, there are issues with backward compatibility. And some of those drawbacks, Tony mentioned, were the BOTO conversions. Just as text to TTY has issues, RTT to TTY is also going to have issues. It's not going to truly be real time at the PSAP. The user is still going to have to wait for the PSAP. The PSAP's only going to see one side of that RTT coming in at this point. In addition, do you want to go next? Do you want me to just go ahead? Okay. So another problem with this is the issue with real-time text right now, and nobody has really identified this. We're kind of seeing this right this minute. Is that the deafblind, and hard of hearing communities typically only have a data plan on their phones. Well, there's a voice component to RTT. So when they place a call, because it is a call to 911 using RTT, that call goes through because the FCC requires that all 911 calls go to a PSAP, no matter if you have a non-initialized phone or not. But the issue is if the call is dropped, the PSAP cannot call the person back. So there will be no voice component. Now, if they have text to 911 and they have outbound capabilities, then they can text that caller back. But otherwise, there are some major concerns there. So that is something that we are actually addressing within our RTT platform. And that is next. And we're going to invite up James Kinney, who is our Chief Innovations Officer, and he's doing our demos over here, and he's going to talk a little bit about the actual platform and how it works.
Hello. Going to be a little brief here since we have short on time, but very high-level overview. We've integrated what's a piece of software from Hamilton Innovations called the Plug. It's a TTY to RTT transcoder and allows us to enable our platform to do RTT immediately. So what we've done is we've taken our previous JStandard 110 text to 911 platform and converted it to support RTT and text to 911. And we can give you a demo at any time if you need over here. And I guess probably best thing would be to take any technical questions that you might have. And you want to go to the next slide, too?
I will, but I want to point out just real quick that one of the things that you're going to have to do if you want to receive RTT directly is that you're going to have an RTT platform in the PSAP. And that's something that, you know, obviously you don't have right now. So.
Yeah, to that regard, most of the NG911 PSAP providers are expected, when they do converge multimedia, to support RTT and MSRP directly. But in the interim, and when we're working in JStandard 110 interim, we have some fragmentation, if you will, and the text platform that we have here can be enabled to do RTT immediately, as an example. Gotcha. Is there any questions, technical or other? I think we're running low on time, so I don't want to get too deep in that.
Daryl?
Daryl.
So, since they present at the PSAP as a TTY call, does the class of service show anything different?
See, today it's going to be a standard. You probably won't notice a nature change in a TTY, RTT to TTY call today. Now, that's a very good question. We should determine that. I know it. I don't want to talk out of turn with the NINA working groups, but this is a question that we've had: is do we mark the call as it travels across the ESI net when it's been translated from a legacy TTY to RTT? Now, that's an NG911 PSAP question, or ESI net NGCS question. What we do in an interim RTT solution may not, that may not be something available. But from regards to the call flow, the call definitely will probably be marked. So your NGCS and your NG911 PSAP should recognize that it's an interrupt call, if you will, to that regard. Currently, when you're going to get it today in the current interim RTT to TTY, the gateway is done by the wireless carrier, and I don't believe there's any change in the alley component, but we should probably look into that.
We can verify that for sure, but I'm pretty sure it's going to present as a wireless call right this minute.
So kind of to give your answer, we're trying to cover that in NG911. Now, whether we've got it covered in the interim solution that the FCC is staging now, I'm not sure, and we'll have to take that as an action item.
Any other questions on this? I got one. Oh, Christy.
Are the carriers or anyone else marketing this to the general public? You said we could be getting calls today. How does the public know this exists?
Remember, from the regards of what we're doing today as an interim, the public would not, they would only, the outreach should be from the phone perspective. From the getting the call into the PSAP, it would be the same as if they're using a TTY, TDD adapter to get that call in. But I do believe that most of the carriers are going to be reaching out. I think it's
More widely available.
yeah, as it's more available. Remember, this is a staged deployment, so there's some of it's, I think, experience. So as they get experience, the public education, I think, will grow.
Questions? Okay. Thank you.
Just to add a little bit to that is, so if someone, because I've got it on a Verizon phone and my AT&T phone. I've got both, and so on the AT&T it's an app. On the Verizon right now on my iPhone, it's in the settings. I can turn it on in the settings instead of using an app. And so we've been playing with it, and we've discovered it's not quite as user friendly as we'd like to see it. So that's one issue that we'll be looking at. Yeah, there's no voice component. And then also, I just want to reiterate that right now, if I were to dial 911 through my RTT capable phone, it arrives at the 911 center and it will be converted to a TTY. So here we've got an issue with somebody, a citizen who's using RTT thinking that they're using real time, and the PSAP, the 911 center, is getting it in TTY. And if you know how to communicate with TTYs, there's that component of waiting, using abbreviations. There's going to be some confusion, I think, between the user and the 911 call takers. So this is all something that we are aware of and that we will be trying to educate more on over this next year at various state conferences. And hopefully, we will get where we need to be so that all citizens have the equal, equitable access to 911 as just picking up a phone and calling 911.
The FCC folks are working on a PSAP education functionality right now. We actually discussed that with their office that is handling that this morning. So hopefully you'll see some stuff coming out as well. Yes, ma'am. No. One thing that is important for us to point out is I mentioned a little bit ago, you must have a solution to receive real-time text directly. And one of the key factors here is that we're going to have to send a request letter, just like you do for text to 911. If a PSAP wants to receive text to 911 or real-time text directly, they're going to have to request that, and you'll have the 6-month window the carriers will have the 6-month window to comply. Go ahead. Yes, it will. And I'm going to tell you that after this event, we are going to actually, am taking an action item. We're going to be creating an issue statement form through Nina. I will be volunteering Tony to head that working group up. So, but I'll help her. So we'll definitely put some education together as well.